Well, hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of the ICA Sports and Fitness Science Council. And today we're going to talk a lot about the science when it comes to fitness and health. A lot of us work with athletes, a lot of us work with professional athletes. Now, I get to work with the AHL hockey team right up here, the Ice Hogs, and they actually have full-time nutritionists that every meal is given to them. They come in, breakfast is waiting for them, they finish their practice, lunch is there waiting for them, and they actually take a dinner home. It's been neat to watch over the last 21 years how much more important nutrition has become in the everyday life and activities. Long is over the days of pizzas after the games and beers. These guys are all professionals. So we don't really have to worry about professional athletes so much, but there are lots of athletes we all take care of every day in our practice, and that would be our teenage athletes. So today I wanted to bring on a good friend of mine, Coach Justin Kegley, and he's on. You want to tell us who you are and why I brought you on?
Sure. Well, I appreciate you having me on. First off, it's a real pleasure. But so I own a sports performance and personal training facility in Rockford, Illinois, and I'm a CSCS, and I'm also certified through Precision Nutrition. I'm a certified sports nutrition coach, and this is a topic that we spend a lot of time working on with our athletes because we specialize in middle school, high school, and we have college athletes that come back in the summer that are constantly looking to take their game to the next level. And while training is fantastic and we continue to push into them, we know that we can only go so far if we're depending on how we're fueling ourselves. And so this is a constant battle for someone that doesn't have meals prepared for them. And we need to work through that to help them to understand how important nutrition is.
Yeah, I thought it was quite educational because one of our team doctors for the Ice Hogs used to work for the Bulls, and he was telling us how Derrick Rose blew his knee out and he could never heal until one day they figured out that he never learned how to eat right. Growing up with a single mom on the south side of Chicago, only 1 year of college for these guys, and then right into the NBA. His whole locker was full of candy and junk food in his car, junk food wrappers. So the Bulls actually made him hire a full-time nutritionist to take care of all of
Mm-hmm.
his meals because I mean you tell us how important nutrition is when it comes to healing.
Well, for sure. This is a big issue, right? So we talk about a lot with our athletes. Number one, we want to help them to understand, first off, fundamentally, just number one, basal metabolic rates, because athletes don't understand that their body is always working, right? It's always their lungs are breathing and their brain is working and the digestive system's working, but they don't understand that. And then they go out and they put out massive efforts in practice. They're going to do trainings, they're going to practice, they're going to do a second sport potentially in the same day. You know, teams youth sports has continued to explode in popularity, and so the challenge is our athletes are not eating enough, and so we know that they're at a greater risk of getting injured, and then when they do get injured, not understanding the importance of increasing your protein intake to help the muscles to start to heal or whatever their injury is, to help them to start to get on the path to recovery. And it's just a constant battle for us. So this is something we have to continue to push in with them and help them to understand, what do meals look like? How do we prioritize, things for us? We always prioritize a protein first strategy for them to help them understand the fundamentals. We know that carbohydrates are going to fuel their system and fuel their energy, and fats as well is going to help be protective for them. But just getting them to understand basically that you can't just eat the school lunch or go to the vending machine and pick out things, because like you said, the pizza, they're not drinking, beer, hopefully, but the pizza aspect of, after a game before, that's just the way it was. It's like, well, it's a lot of calories. Well, yeah, but so many of our kids are playing at a high level and they want to compete at a higher level, but they're not fueling themselves for that. So they leave themselves just open to injury. And if they do get hurt, unfortunately, they're not going to recover as fast.
I know you and I talked before. You had a great way of telling these kids like how much water to drink. It wasn't by the ounces. You want to share your measurements with us?
Well, so I don't have one with me right now, but we look at this and go, look, everybody's got a Stanley. They have an Awala water bottle. They have some kind of thing, whether, you're drinking, you've got a bottle or something with them. And I could sit there and tell you like, hey, we want you to drink half your body weight in ounces per day. And if you're playing, we generally aim to tell them to get 100 ounces at least, because we know that that's going to cover them for the most part. But we would talk about that and they just kind of stare back at you like, I don't know how much that is, right? They're like, that doesn't make sense to me. So it's like, good. Okay. That Stanley that you carry around as like a status symbol, or the Awalo that's the perfect, color and all that stuff. You go like, look, you need Stanley, the big Stanley is like 40 ounces, right? 36 to 40 ounces. You go like, look, you need to drink three of those throughout the course of the day, right? For the most part. Awalas, you're going to drink 3 to 4 of those. If you're drinking just regular standard old water bottle, you're going to drink, 5 of those. So just trying to break it down in simple ways for them to understand and go, look, do it first thing in the morning, right? When you wake up in the morning before anything else goes in your mouth, let's get some water down you. So starting off with that and then giving them simple pictures really helps them to understand, like, all right, I can do that because I have it throughout the course of the day.
You talk a lot too about portion sizes and ideas, especially ideas for them on the road, because we all know on the road's a challenge. Even you have a new product at your place, I thought was quite clever. So you want to share with us some of your tips like for you're on the road?
Yeah, so helping kids understand that they're not just, when we look at travel sports right now, they're traveling everywhere, right? And the problem is number one, let's make sure that's not the mentality of like this is a vacation. Because if you're doing this every weekend, it's not a vacation. This is a big portion of your life. If you go for the weekend, that's gonna be 35% of your week by the time you go Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. So helping them understand like portion sizes, so like the palm is going to be equal to a serving of protein. And everybody, we have our palms. And so you look at that and you go, all right, for females, it could be 1 to 1.5, right? So you're looking, yeah, exactly. 1 to 1.5 serving size for a female athlete, 1.5 to 2, depending on what type of athlete a male is. If you have somebody who's an offensive lineman or someone that's bigger, that may be a little bit bigger portion size. But overall helping them understand that that's what that would look like. If you're going to get a piece of fish, you're going to get some chicken, you're going to get some ground beef, steak, whatever it is, at least have an idea of how much it is, so that way if you're consuming enough. You talked about, for us, we have supplements and products that we believe in here, and one of them is First Form. They just came out with, well, they've had it for a little bit, excuse me, but they're beef sticks, which has about 18 grams of protein per serving. You go, look, it's a pretty clean product overall. And so that's something for us to go, look, take something like this with you, right? If you're going to have a snack that's going to be a little more complete, and you compare that hopefully with a carbohydrate, and you go, look, I know that we're not able to put together a perfect plan based off of everything that we know about them, but we can help them to educate them to understand what they need to do so that they're properly fueled, they're recovering after a game, a training, a session, and reducing that overall risk of injury.
Well, how about you, a simple tip for the kids that have multiple games in one day? So I have a game in the morning, I'm going to have a break, I'm going to have a game after that. What would a simple game plan you think, a general game plan? I know it can't be perfect for everybody, but what
Yeah,
would you recommend for that day?
yeah, for sure. So a couple things. Number one, I talked to, this is a question we get from parents a lot, right? So they're asking about what they should do. And a lot of them ask number one because they're beating their heads against the wall because they're like, hey, Johnny or Susie have a game at 8 a.m. and they're fighting me every day because they're not eating something. And you're like, okay, look, here's the deal. Number one, for an early morning game, we always believe nutrition starts the night before, right? Because what they're doing the day before that, and even technically a couple days before that, is going to lead them up to what's going to happen this weekend. So the goal is how can I make sure that we eat the best meal possible the night before, right? You don't have to do a traditional like carb load where we're really doing a bunch of stuff, but making sure we have a meal that's fully prepared with protein, carbs, and fat. So that's as best we can to do that. Because if we can fuel them up there, you could potentially get a small snack in the morning, whether it's even something as simple as a Cliff Bar, granola bar, something like that, that will get some carbohydrates in them to help them fuel. Obviously, I would prefer that they have some carbs and some protein before they would go. That's what that we would start with there. So if that's an early morning game, that's kind of the strategy. If it's a later, start at say, maybe 10 a.m., then it's like, look, let's get a breakfast. Let's get up 7, 8 o'clock. Let's get it. It'll give you enough time to digest before you go into your game. So that's going to be helpful there in addition to what you ate the night before. And then you look and you go like, all right, we know that they're going to play at 10 and they're probably going to come back at 1 or 5 or something like that. You go, look, if you have an extended break in between, let's get a meal, right? Let's get a meal, hopefully, within an hour of that previous game, because that's going to help facilitate recovery better. But if you have a window where it's like, hey, we're playing at 10 and it's an hour and a half game, we get done at 11:30 and we're going to play again at 12:20, then look, let's get a snack, right? So we can get something from an electrolyte perspective. So if you have some kind of drink to refuel there, it could be as simple as let's get a chocolate milk and to refuel. That would be something that was super helpful. Some pretzels, things like that. And you go, again, nothing perfect, but let's refuel that system so that we can ultimately help them to get ready for the next game. And, big picture, we've talked about it's not going to be perfect, but the goal is if we can help educate them on why these things are important longitudinally, we know like as they're younger, certainly they're going to run higher from a metabolic burn perspective. But long term, if we can help to educate them on why these things are important and when, they can start to make better decisions as a young adult and into later on into adulthood as well. So while you can't have the perfect meal plan, that's the idea.
So if I want to learn more about this and do a deeper dive, and is there like a really good book you'd recommend for like parents or maybe even the athletes themselves that maybe we could find like the link here after the podcast is over?
Yeah, for sure. So I wrote a book called High Performance Nutrition for High School Athletes. And the goal was simply to be a guide for parents, coaches, and athletes to help them understand simply what they can do to fuel themselves for success. So it was designed to go, look, here are the fundamentals of what it is without boring someone to tears because we could write the most technical book possible, but nobody's going to read it. So the goal is here's the high level. Here, let me help you understand. Let's be a guide. And then actually there's a ton of resources, recipes in there that allows them to go like, hey, this is what it would look like. Because we know when we have kids where they're fighting with us, I don't like eggs. I don't want to eat this. I don't want to eat that. And you're like, all right, great. Here's 10 options. And if that doesn't work, then we can figure something else out. But, at least give them a guide to say, look, if you want to play at your highest level, you have to fuel for it. And if by chance you're hurt, you need to fuel to get back because as much as you want to get back on the field or court, you got to make sure your nutrition is on point to help you to get there as soon as possible.
Fantastic. So we're going to wrap up this podcast, but I finish every podcast with the same question. Do you have any final words that for us that we left out that I didn't cover?
Man, I think the biggest thing is we live in the information age, right? So when we talk to kids and we talk to parents even, we assume that they know things. And I think that's part of why I wrote the book because I wanted it to be something simple, but be a guide. So making sure like you can never tell them too much what is good for them, right? And how we can do that and giving them examples and giving them ideas because sometimes that's all it needs. Like, oh, I just need a couple eggs and I can have some oatmeal or toast or something in the morning. You're like, oh, okay, well, I can do that. So I think making sure like our kids these days, they're not dumb, but they need direction, right? As always. And so the more you can do that, the better off. And as a parent myself, I know that it's always great to have other people to continue to speak into my kids so that they understand the importance of the fundamental things we want them to learn in life.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to put a link to this wherever you're watching or listening to this. You'll be able to get a copy of this book and check it out for yourself. I've read it several times. It's easy read, it's real life solutions, and it gives a lot of different scenarios to try to help you plan for the best available performance you can do nutrition wise. If you want an easy book to give to share with kids, this is it. It's not it's great information, but it's presented so everybody can understand it. So thank you for writing the book.
Well, absolutely. I appreciate it. And thanks so much for your help and support. And I hope this will help.
All right, everybody. If you like what you're listening to, please share, like, and subscribe. And we'll come back at you more from the ICA Sports and Fitness Science podcast. Thank you.